job on pronouncing my name. Are we on? Is this mic on? Oh, yeah, it is. Good job on pronouncing my name. Not a lot of people can do it. Guys, I am so happy to be here today. You guys could be anywhere in the world and still you're here watching me speak, and for that, I'm so thankful. So please bear with me and my accent, because this Brazilian accent is not going anywhere. As I take you guys through a journey of super fun content and beautifully designed slides. In this presentation, I'm gonna be sharing some really cool tips that will hopefully make you feel super confident about your creativity and your ability to create big ideas. We're gonna be talking about what creativity is. We'll talk about what creativity is not, the other way. And we're gonna go over a creative process. And finally, we're gonna talk about some brainstorming techniques. Now, to make sure that this presentation is useful for you guys, I would like for you guys to close your eyes and take a second and think about a specific scenario where you guys could make good use of coming up with creative ideas. Got it? Good. I thought you guys could use this to create events or create swag for your community, maybe to create a really cool campaign to increase engagement, or maybe just to come up with content ideas. Community managers are problem solvers, and problem solving is all about creativity and coming up with ideas. So let's get this party started. So what creativity is not? There's this misconception that creativity is something that either you're born with or not. Like, either you're gonna be tall or have brown hair or not. Well, I'm here to share with you guys that that's not true. Creativity is a skill, and it's something that you guys can learn and perfect it, just as much as playing a sport or an instrument. Also, there's no right way to be a creative person. When we create, we're given this opportunity to engage with the world without judging ourselves. And in a world where we're so and constantly challenged to be perfect, creativity is where you can find the freedom to be who we really are, to let our minds go, and to just be. Also, don't be afraid to use references. There's this myth that to create something, we need to be creating from scratch, but that's also not true. Go find inspirations on the things that you guys love, which could be going to an art gallery, watching a concert, go explore architecture, or go online and find things that have been done exactly like the things that you're trying to do, and take those ideas and make it your own. I was once invited to this tea ceremony. It was a pretty interesting one, where we would walk in and get this ceramic tea mug. And then the shaman would ask us to drop it on the floor and break it in pieces. We would have to collect those pieces and glue them all together. And I was thinking about this as a good example for today's presentation, because we made our own tea mug out of a tea mug that already existed. So, now what creativity is? Guys, creativity is a process. It's not a gift. Like every other processes, it's something that needs to be perfected and practiced over and over. Your creative process is going to continuously change, because as you change as a human being, the things that inspire you would also change. So still, this process is something that needs to exist. My favorite TED talker, Sir Ken Robinson, says my favorite sentence about creativity, which is, creativity is the lack of fear of getting wrong. Now, let's think about creativity as imagination plus focus. When we imagine, we recreate universes based on our own experiences and the things that we know, consciously or unconsciously. Then focus, in this situation, it's about the intention to solve a problem that needs to be outlined and really well understood. So, back to the creative process that I was mentioning to you guys. I want to share with you the process that we've created at my company, EAT, about 10 years ago. We've been working around this process and perfecting it until this day, And the reason why we started with it was because our team is spread out in 6 different countries. And so we had no option but to follow a script so that our creativity is not something completely abstract that we can't set up times and deliverables for our clients. So make good use of this process. You guys can copy this process and create your own around it, but this is a pretty easy one that you can follow and start creating your own ideas. So we always start by collecting information. We call this phase the discovery phase. We start by sharing a set of questions with our clients, and through their answers, we define the problem. We define this challenge. One thing that it's important to mention is that we always have a project manager, the person who is going to be taking us throughout this process, making sure that it's happening the way it's supposed to happen. So once we define the problem, we create a brief. Don't underestimate the power of creating a brief and going ahead and writing that document. I know it sounds boring and everything, but go ahead and do it because you're going to be so thankful that you're going to remember a little bit ahead of the time that the client didn't want something. And so this brief should contain the do's and don'ts of the project and everything that the client is asking you guys to do. So once we have the brief, we share that with the team, and then we start researching for inspiration. It's through this research that we start translating the things that have been only written and exchanged by email into visual content. So we start researching different typography, colors, textures, shapes and forms. And then we set up the date for our brainstorming session. Note that we don't do that thing where someone call each other and say, oh, can you just come to my office and let's just brainstorm. We believe that, and I know that you guys are laughing because that happens so much, and they go like, oh, come to my room, let's just brainstorm. And you're like, what? So come prepared for your brainstorming sessions, which means do the homework. Ask your project manager or whoever is the person who is setting up the brainstorming session to let you have the time to research and come prepared. You guys will be so thankful when the ideas are going to start to flow. So then we have our brainstorming session, and that's when we have the ideas. And that's only when we start designing, only when we start sketching and developing. So now I'm going to share with you guys some really cool brainstorming techniques, because I don't know if some of you guys are terrified about the idea of being creative, or sometimes you guys are put on the spot, like, no, let's come up with ideas, come on. And that's not really what you do, and you feel like, but I'm not a creative, so what am I going to do? I hope this can help you guys to get out of this fear. So when you work with branding and design, as you guys saw in the process, nothing happens until we have the ideas. So the ideas are really the most important things that we do. So that's why this brainstorming phase is so crucial, and that's why we created those techniques. So, first and most important rule of brainstorming, quantity over quality, always. Here, the less is more doesn't really work. So, think about, and then second rule, discourage judgment. But really think about that. Make sure that the room and your team feels really comfortable to let their ideas flow. Then you guys can start by exercising, coming up with 100 ideas, 100 raw ideas in 30 minutes. It's usually really good to set up the time, because teams work much better with real goals. Maybe 100 ideas is too much, but you see that it's really not. Then time travel. Look at your challenge with fresh eyes. Think about how would you deal with the situation if you guys were 10 years ahead of time? Or 5 years ago, how would you have dealt with the situation if you were a little bit of time ago? Now the next one. Teleportation is a very good one for brands that are building communities internationally, or they are launching products in different countries, because with this one, you put yourself in the shoes of people from different cultures. What if all of a sudden you guys were teletransported to Paris? How would you face this challenge? or simply a different location. This is very, very useful for brands that are global. Then the attribute change. This is the one that you're changing, it's like personal changes. So very, very important for what you guys do in building communities. Put yourself in the shoes of people. What if I were from a different race, or a different nationality, or if or a different gender even, or a different weight? All those things are very interesting to putting ourselves in all these different situations will always help us to come up with ideas that would resonate much better with our audiences. The role storming. This is good for you guys to think about your audience and then put yourself completely into a different person's shoes altogether. So let's say that you guys are working with Gen Z. Think, what if you were their parents? Or if it's like an internal presentation or an internal project, what if you were the manager? Or what if you were the company's CEO? I love this one. Iconic figures. What if you were an iconic figure from the past, like Coco Chanel? Or from the present, what if all of a sudden we were all Barack Obamas? How would we think about the situations? Gap filling it's a really good one for when you guys are planning events. So you think about point A, where you are right now, and what the results that you want to have with this event. Then you sit down and brainstorm everything in the middle and create a task list. The SWOT. The good old SWOT analysis. Do that with the challenge. Do that with the problem that you're facing. Line out like the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats, and see what comes out of it. The brain writing is where you work around with your team, give each person a sheet of paper, and start writing ideas, right? Then you rotate this paper until everyone can write on top of everyone's ideas, and see what comes out of it. The trigger method. With this one, you guys come up with a bunch of ideas, choose the best ones, and let them be triggers for the next ideas. The challenger is really interesting as well. This is the one that you guys challenge your own ideas. You do the devil's advocate, and you challenge everything that you're thinking. Question everything that you think that is going to do well. I wanted to say to you guys that it's really important that when you guys have your team in a room, that everyone is aligned about the method that you're going to use. Believe me, a lot of times people are very preconditioned with their own methods, and they will come to the brainstorming table, everyone thinking about a different thing. So make sure that you guys make a plan. Now we're going to use the challenger method, and then you go for everyone on the same page. Escape thinking. This is the one that you break all your own preconceptions. So let's say that you think that people only buy books when they want to read them themselves. And then you go, and then you question that. And then you think, well, people buy books also because they want to give them as gifts. Sometimes they want to use as decoration. Who knows? The reverse thinking. I love this one. You think about what everyone would do, and you do the opposite. Come up with like completely opposite ideas. The resource availability. This is the in a dream world technique. What if you had all the money in the world? What if you had all the team available, all the supplies, all the resources? What would happen? The exaggeration is when you exaggerate your goal with a project. Think about, like, let's say that you were seeking for likes. What if you needed 10,000 likes instead of 100, whatever, 200 likes? And then you shrink the goal as well to play with it. To get random input. This is so cool. Think about getting a very random stimulus. You guys, maybe you're gonna be in an office room. First thing that you open in your computer, that's gonna be the stimulus that is gonna generate the ideas. Or if you look around, first thing you see, then that will trigger your thoughts. And then lastly, my very favorite technique, meditation. You guys will be surprised with what the lack of thinking can do to you. Sit down in a room with your team and encourage them to focus on their breath. And let these ideas come to them flowing. This is also a very good technique for when you are kind of like, you're undecided about two different ideas. Try to close your eyes and really picture yourself in one situation and then the second situation. And let your intuition speak louder. I do that, and it really, really works. So, people want to play a part on something that is bigger than themselves. They're meant to be part of the communities that you guys are building. And there's nothing more exciting than enjoying something that you love together. Community management is about communicating your brand's powerful ideas to the people who care to listen. I really hope that these techniques can help you guys to get there, and I hope you guys can continue to change the world. Thank you.